I'm Candy, and today I'm going to share with you what I've made in the first half of 2017. So the first half of this year included a lot of traveling for me, which means that both my video uploads and my sewing took a bit of a hiatus, but I do still have 6 things to share with you today. Actually, the first 2 I'm not sure if I made in the first half of this year or the second half of last year, but I'm going to include them anyway. Alright, number 1 is this donut dress that I have on the mannequin here. So I used a pattern from Otome no Sewing book number 9, and the pattern that I used was originally intended for a knit fabric, so I did have to make a couple of adjustments because this is a woven. So the changes that I made were including a zipper in the back and adding a little bit of fabric to the bodice in order to increase the ease there. So the fabric that I added were these pin tucks at the front, which I think are really cute, and I carried that down to the skirt as well. I added pin tucks to the bottom of the skirt. Other adjustments were pockets and the pom-pom trim around the collar. I also took a good 20 centimeters off the bottom of this because I found that the combination of the puff sleeves and the Peter Pan collar and the baby doll style and the pastel cutesy sweet fabric made it look really young. So by taking quite a bit of fabric off the bottom, I can show a bit of leg, and it made it a little bit more mature. So the fabric is a cotton twill, which means it's quite heavy and it holds its shape really well, so it is quite puffy even without a petticoat, although it does also mean it's quite heavy and hot, so I can't really wear it in the summertime. Summer here in Japan is really hot and sticky and not very nice, so I really don't want to be wearing anything that covers my arms too much or is too heavy. However, overall I am really happy with this dress. I love the fabric, I really like the colours, and my favourite point is probably the pom-pom trim around the collar. Alright, dress number 2 is this pancake dress, and I made this one straight after the donut dress, and it is actually fairly similar. It is also a baby doll with puff sleeves and a Peter Pan collar. However, I did use a different pattern. So the pattern came from this book, and the translation of the title is one piece and tunic that you want to wear anytime. So a one piece is the Japanese term for a dress which has a sleeve rather than straps. And the main difference between these two dresses is that this one is a little bit more oversized and doesn't have any fastening, so it just pulls on over the head. The only change I made to the pattern was to add pockets in the side seam. So the fabric is by a brand called Harajuku Dolls. I purchased it in Tokyo in Nippori Fabric Town, which is the amazing fabric district that I mentioned in my last video. It is a little heavier than a quilting cotton, and it is a border print. Now this one has a different border on both edges of the fabric. Often a border print will have the same border on each edge, but this one had pancakes at the bottom and maple syrup at the top. So I used the pancakes for the bottom of the skirt, and I used the maple syrup to cut out the collar and the cuffs, and I think the combination works really well. I wore this dress to an event called Romantic a la Mode, which is a craft and handmade fair here in Osaka. It happens twice a year, and I did actually take a lot of video footage when I was there. So if you're interested in handmade Japanese crafts, stick around for that video. Alright, number 3, continuing on the pink theme, was this Chester coat. The pattern came from Cotton Friend magazine, which is the autumn 2016 edition, and it is this coat on the front, though I made the option with sleeves. So the original pattern is a faced kind of autumn weight throw-on jacket, but in fact the weather in Japan doesn't stay cool for very long. It's either very cold in winter or overwhelmingly hot in summer. So I thought that kind of coat I would probably only get 4 weeks of wear out of. So I ditched the facings and fully lined it in a really cute flannel. So I was hoping that by lining it with a flannel it would be heavy enough to wear for longer in the winter months. The catch was that I fell absolutely in love with the flannel as well, so in the end what I did was make it completely reversible. So one side is a fairly heavy cotton twill, and it is covered in octopi wearing head bows, and it is the cutest thing. I really love this fabric, but I thought after making the donuts dress, making something really cutesy with it would be a bit too similar. So I tried to go with kind of a more mature silhouette with this coat. And the other half is a really soft cotton flannel. I love both sides of this. I'm really happy with the fabric choice. However, I'm not stoked with the way it drapes with both layers, so in the end I might actually end up pulling them both apart and having 2 coats after all. I will probably keep the flannel side as more of a cardigan, and the octopus side I might take the sleeves off, kind of like the one on the front cover here. Alright, number 4 is this mint chocolate dress behind me here. I made this one for my very first Lolita fashion meetup, which was a Valentine's Day meet. The pattern I used came from Otome no Sewing book number 4, although honestly I altered it so much it's barely recognizable anyway. I cut out the bodice without the optional detachable collar, and I shortened it to an empire line because it did finish quite low on the waist. Also, rather than doing the gathered skirt, I chose to do a pleated skirt. This was for two reasons. First, just because I didn't have as much fabric as the pattern recommended, and also I just thought that the pleats looked really cute with this particular fabric. So the fabric is by Cosmo Textiles. It's a little heavier than a quilting cotton, and all of the lace that I used is either crocheted or embroidered cotton lace. I made a coordinating headdress to go with this as well, and I do really love it. It was my first time making this kind of headdress, and I think it looks really cute, which is the main point of the fashion after all. Although, if I'm honest, I think it looks a little strange with my natural hair. I much prefer it with a wig. Alright, next dress is the Slytherin Dress. So because I'm a very mature and responsible and grown-up adult, I decided that for my birthday party this year, I wanted to have a Harry Potter marathon in my living room. Honestly, this may have just been an excuse to make this dress. The pattern is from Otome no Sewing book number 6, and as soon as I saw this pattern when I bought this book, I knew I had to make a Slytherin dress out of it. I really love the military vibe of this pattern. I love the button tabs on the front, and I love the length of it. It falls to kind of mid-calf, which is probably my favorite length to make at the moment. And this one I actually made exactly to the pattern, which is very unusual for me. The material I used is just a generic cotton flannel. It is really soft and lovely on the inside, but it is quite warm, so it's definitely more of a winter-autumn dress. I'm really happy with the way that this dress turned out. It's really comfortable, and it looks just the way I imagined it would. Alright, the most recent thing are the dinosaur shorts that I'm wearing right now. Unfortunately, these don't fit on the mannequin, so I can't photograph them for you. But I have a few photos of me wearing them, so I hope that'll suffice. So this is the only Western pattern of the bunch. This is Quick Sew number 3854, and I made View A. So View A is more of a culotte pattern, which is really on trend at the moment, and I was hoping that they would look kind of like a cheerleader skirt when they were finished, and I'm actually really happy with how they turned out. However, being a Western commercial pattern, the amount of ease was ridiculous, and I took a good 5 centimeters off both sides, which is just overkill. So the fabric is a quilting cotton, which I know is not the best, but it is really light and easy to wear in the summertime, and I could not walk past this print. I have a lot of pastel tops in my wardrobe, but not a lot of pastel bottoms to pair them with, and I feel like a solid jean or solid black bottoms with a pastel top is a little bit too much contrast, so this really fills a gap in my wardrobe. So aside from the fit issues with this pattern, I am really happy with the way it turned out, and I know that I'm going to size it down when I make it next time, because I will be making it again. Alright, that's it for the first half of the year. I know that 6 things in 6 months doesn't seem like a lot, but overall I am really happy with everything that I've made so far. My productivity levels are already up for the second half of the year. We're only in July and I've already finished 2 things, so hopefully I can make at least 12 by the end of the year. What do you think of what I've made so far? Do you like my fabric choices, or is it a little bit too wild for you? Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more fashion and sewing in Japan, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Hey. So, made a chocolate dress. I use a Cosmo Textiles fabric, which you can see here. It's heavier than a quilting. Heavier than quilting, it says. And it's from Otome no Sewing 4. This one here. It's really good. I shortened the bodice to an empire line, pleated instead of gathered, in the skirt. And I made a coordinating headdress, and it looks super cute.